Azir taken away. And I think Faker had a great game in game number 3. Makes sense to see that one banned away. And in fact, targeting him a lot here in this draft so far.
Yeah, I think when jungle is so impactful in the meta, mid is so synergistic with jungle that targeting Faker has made a lot of sense for top esports, and they really will look to hammer down. And that Renata, you know, the impact cannot be understated, especially when it came in as that R5 pick. So not even wanting to deal with that, not even giving them the chance for T1 to pick it in the early rotation before you get to that second rotation of bans.
It screams Jaculev's going to play a scaling pick here. I'm not going to give you that kill lane in the bottom lane that you want. Faker's probably going to be forced to play something that doesn't have as much power. But consider this.
Whoa.
Corki, if it gets first picked here, that same Vi setup with the Ahri is available here for T1. So yeah, you took the Azir away, you took the Talia away, but you may just give another strong jungle mid duo as well.
Rumble
Is a pretty easy lock-in here, but again, it comes at that heavy cost of the mid jungle. Corki also a consideration. Now this is where it gets scary, because now you get Vi, Rumble, and then you can take the Ahri after that. I think this may have been an error by Top Esports.
And it's also Sejuani as well for Ona. This is incredibly dangerous for Top Esports. They were weighing this up. They knew that the Rumble was going to be a consideration, but they were worried about how it was going to fit with the rest of their composition, I guess.
And this is part of the problem. As you go through a series, problems arise that you want to deal with in the ban phase, but then it opens up things you came in the series confident you didn't want to give over, you know? The Sejuani's been a pick they've been set on denying from Ona, and now they've had to let him get it in order to shorten Faker's pool and ban away from Carrier. Now we do see them picking up the Ezreal. I think this duo, the Ezreal Corki, works really well with similar spikes to the same items. And they also secure that Leona for Mako, a big pick for him. So strong bot side there. They have given up those power picks in the top and jungle.
And that Freljordian combo could come in here as well if they decide to lock away something like the Ashe. Even the Braum could be a consideration that we've seen Mako find a fair bit of success on, even though it's not necessarily our favorite pick for Carrier. There are so many things that T1 can look towards. I think, what, Yasuo? That's it. I mean, that's Yasuo being hovered for now. Let's not count our chickens, shall we? It's locked in. It's locked in.
He's locked it in.
Yasuo. That's just Yasuo. It's fine.
You took away the Yone, but you can't stop Faker from locking the other in. And the Yasuo Sejuani synergy is quite strong in the mid lane into a champion like the Corki. The wind wall can be quite powerful into this champ. And you look at what T1 can put together behind this. It gets so interesting because now you got to ban out all the strong bottom lane champions. Sure, you took away the Renata, but you got to stop the Ashe. You got to stop the Kalista. Guma Carrier absolutely can put together a winning bottom side here. They already have the AP damage profile of the Rumble.
And there is a lot of flexibility here. Let me take you through some of the bottom lanes that we have seen in the past. One of them being Yasuo Sejuani.
Yep.
That does exist as a bottom lane. Don't know whether it's necessarily going to happen here. However, it is possible. There is Rumble Ashe that is still very strong in the early stages of the game. If Carrier wants to dive onto that one, you don't necessarily know exactly where all these champions are going to be played, because Gumayushi also has a Yasuo record here in the LCK. Or like, I don't know necessarily whether we can pencil it all in, although right now, it's most likely that all of these champions are going to the players that pick them.
It's got to be a Kalista ban, right? I mean, Caitlyn's still up. You've got Caitlyn, you've got Kalista, you've got Varus. This is where T1 thrive. An unusual first 3 picks, and then how many champs can you ban away from Guma Carrier, the widest champion pool of a bot duo basically in League of Legends history?
Well, that's more knockups, and that's what Yasuo likes. And so they're going to lock away the Rakan. Xayah is just going to be free if they would like to pick it up. I'm not a huge fan, but it might come in. And Top Esports, I mean, these 3 champions are already extremely strong. We'll see what they lock in alongside it, as Cassante definitely up there on the tier list. It's just a lot of crazy coming in from T1.
Yeah, to me, T1 have so much layered engage, so much wombo potential. The wind wall, huge value into the Corki and Ezreal. I feel like a Kai'Sa would sync really well with what they have so far in terms of that dive there, but we'll see what they go for. The Cassante is going to get locked in for Top Esports. They need the jungle pick. The Zyra has been banned away. Looking towards the Xin Zhao, I'm not super sold on it. I feel like with everyone diving into and being clumped up, something like the Brand or even the Karthus could have a lot more value than the Xin Zhao.
Well, Ivern doesn't necessarily add as much value as it would if there was a Tristana here on the side of top esports, but Tien still going to lock that one in. And there is that Zaya Rakan, the Lovers duo here. The Gumiushi carrier, I think it was 2022, looked the most powerful on. I think the Lovers duo have fallen in priority over the years, but still very, very scary.
I mean, I think everybody who watches the LCK remembers that T1 KT losers final where Guma played the Zaya and absolutely popped off. In big games, when he has a draft that supports it, he looks fantastic on this pick. To play devil's advocate against T1 here with this draft of top esports, yes, the Ivern, relatively vulnerable, isn't as strong with the Tristana, but they have a great front line here. They have insane range, and you only get one Rumble ultimate. This setup here for T1's engages, yes, you've got the knockups for the Yasuo, but it's extremely conditional. You lose map control against his Ivern, he starts putting brushes up, it gets a lot harder to play this comp as T1. I think it's a great comp, I think it works out in isolation, but extremely risky.
Yeah, and I feel like Zaya into a composition that ranges you kind of feels rough, and also if your team's going forward, hard to set up the feathers in return. Also, just when we talk about the laning phase, you know, Leona's a really good matchup into Rakan. Ezreal Leona's so strong right now, and Corki into Yasuo, that's just going to be a weather the storm matchup, because if he just Gatling guns in your face, you aren't going to win trades.
You're not, and it's been a long time since we've had a Faker Yasuo. It was a mainstay in the mid lane for a lot of his early years over in Korea, and has had a spattering of other games, but it's not necessarily a pick that we liken with him these days. It was something extraordinarily dangerous to be in his hands, and we'll see whether even now it is going to be the same thing, because it was a matchup into Corki in the past that was relatively good. So we'll just have to see how it's gonna go. I love it though, when you mix up a draft to this level, and the fact that they get the Rumble Sejuani really allows you to throw a little bit of an extra curveball.
And I feel like teams often have these more niche picks prepared, but the opportunity doesn't rise, they don't feel confident enough to bring it out. Moments like this, where you see a window, you still have that buffer, where you have the one game lead, can be a prime opportunity to get a big edge by bringing out a more niche pick.
Well, now it's time to get in. You can hear fans in the Kidia Arena are looking forward to who's going to pick this one up. I can hear some desperation from the cries here. We'll see whether it's going to be T1 taking this or whether it's top esports as the players make their way out onto the Rift here for game number 4. Match point for T1 here at EWC. Top esports wanting to bring us to game 5. A decider for them. T1 would then have side selection in the 5th game. They have to get there first in order to make it happen. And this is a weird draft. It's a fun draft. See whether it works here for T1 or whether, once again, Ivern is going to be a problem, because he was a problem in the first game as well. And you can understand why they go back to it. I just don't necessarily see as much synergy between Ivern and Corki as what we saw with the Ivern Tristana, which has been historically pretty good. Faker is going to be spotted here by a lot of TES members. But otherwise, it is just a pretty defensive start for both teams.
Imagine, though, a world where T1 is 1,000 gold, 2,000 gold behind at 25 minutes, and they don't have map control, and they have to fight into brush with this composition with a lack of a strong front line outside of the Sejuani. It's really difficult to get into those brushes. It's really difficult to contest vision. Jackie level layers so much damage onto you while you're trying to get in there and actually set up that with the vision clear in those brushes as you try to approach dragons, barons later on. And more than shielding for something like a Tristana, I think that is the value of the Ivern here, as Faker's going to use his shield for a little bit of a trade.
Yep, getting some flow here as he's moving towards that tornado. See how he does go. We're not going to know whether he landed that one, as we've got Mako going in. Does utilize his aftershock quite well.
I love this sort of, it's something we saw so often in the LPL when Leona's always been super popular. As you go to E level 1, proc the passive where they go for that trade, and just on the back of aftershock, it's really hard to actually win against the Leona. And a lot of these engaged supports don't do that much level 1.
Ow.
That's painful.
Yeah, that's level 2, I guess, for Zeus. 369 gonna have to wait for this wave to come on up. That's absurd. Okay, making some money there as well is the Rumble, because of course you deserve to have more money and more damage at the same time, right?
Yeah, I think we can see why this champion's banned a lot.
Yeah.
Pretty strong, pretty powerful up there on the top side. The Leona matchup historically has been fantastic into Rakan. And as you mentioned, using the Aftershock to trade aggressively there, they outrange the Xayah. The damage numbers on the Ezreal Q on this patch and the previous patch are just so high that it's really easy here for Top Esports to control the bottom side. So while they have a bit of a hole into this Rumble, they have a strong point here bottom side, and that is right now where both junglers are pathing.
Yeah, Tien doing the patented TM play, which is walk bottom lane. Going to be able to put a brush in here, and we'll be able to see exactly what Ona's getting up to. I don't know whether he got full vision, but I think seeing the Gromp is being has been taken down gives him enough of an idea as to what's going on here. As there goes the blue buff. Tien possibly out of position though, as Kerry is going to move on over first. Gumayusi and Jakilov are fighting. No more Blade Caller going to be available. The heal comes in to make sure Gumayusi is safe, and Tien is in so much trouble. Faker's going to come over. That's first blood for Gumayusi, and Arcane Shift gets Jakilov out of trouble. But T1 with first blood and a big early lead.
Ends up being such a blunder there from Tien. Moves in aggressively, but the thing is, you don't have your smites available. You're not going to be able to steal the camps if Ona's doing them, and the synergy between the Rakan and the Sejuani, I think it was about a year ago, they made Rakan count as a melee champion, so he can stack that passive. And you see here, Tien has to flash early because he doesn't want the passive stacked on him, but then easy W follow-up for Carrier.
And Guma does so much damage here on the side as well. There's nothing they can do. Jakilov getting chunked out while this is all happening as they're pushed up too far. Faker gets the free roam because he's been crushing that mid lane matchup so far. And I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that it felt forced. You know, you have this Ezreal prio, you want to use it, but you're still an Ivern, you know? Maybe with a different jungler, you could have gotten more out of that.
And Ona, full knowledge of what's going on here. Tien not going to be able to land anything, and Ona's going to grab the second kill onto this tree. 369, he could do nothing but watch.
Such a devastating hit, and the thing is, you're flashless, you're going top lane to try and support 369 so you can crash the wave, but in a 2v2 against Sejuani Rumble, you stand no chance.
Well, Faker finds yet another knock-up onto Cream. Going to be winning out on that trade once again. Has an old matchup, but a good one, as it turns out here for Faker. He has played a few games, 9 games, I think, to his career, from what I can find. It's been quite a while since he played his last. We'll check out this fight once again.
Just so greedy here. Zeus also has the overheat, so can get the max value out of the Q damage there, as well as his autos. Owner has the flash available, so can just set up the stun. And this Ivern is so fragile. You know, I feel like it cannot be overstated how easy it is to blow him up. The same can't be said of this Aftershock Sejuani. So 2 aggressive plays from Tien, just answered by Owner, who's had such a fantastic series. You think back to his Nidalee last game, his early game here, extremely impactful as well.
And his Sejuani is just so incredibly good. You mentioned already, Orcs, the fact that so much had to be invested in early drafts to put Top Esports in such good positions. Take Game 1, for example, there, and having to give that up to adjust to how the series has been going seems to have not necessarily worked out. Still very early days here as we tick towards 6 minutes in, and a possible gank opportunity as Tien looking to move up into this next brush, but I don't think that T1 are going to give them much of an opportunity here. So they look to stack this wave in, and the Grubs, they'll just go over to Owner. Full control of the map here for T1 in the early game.
And I feel like at this point, Tien is just so on the back foot, he needs any sort of opportunity to make his way back in. If you start falling behind his Ivan to the point where you're being invaded, it becomes so difficult to set up your camps than actually cash in on them, and it really can start to become painful fast. So he needs just to find an avenue where he can stabilize the game and make sure Owner does not just run away with it.
Well, you can see Faker taking a few rockets here. Not going to have a wind wall for all of them. Has just teleported back to lane. I'm just looking forward to the first skirmish because we have level 6s coming in for almost everyone, as I'm going to hold that thought as Mako, he goes in. And Gumayusi taking a little bit of damage here. Jakilov landing a few Mystic shots pretty nicely, but it's not going to be a full commitment as the Blade Caller not getting too much value here. And T1 are going to back away from the play. But as I was saying, I'm looking forward to seeing when we do get some of these knockups to start getting laid in, Faker getting unlocked into these fights, because they can create so much chaos for Gumayusi to just throw feathers at people.
Yeah, not to mention, if you keep people in the air during that last breath, you have the Rumble ultimate stacking on top of that. You keep them in place for so long during the ultimate animation that Zeus just burns them down. You can see why this is a good matchup for Yasuo, because he's got the wind wall, he has the passive shield. Don't want to be taking Gatling gun damage, that's where it gets a little bit trickier. But beyond that, you can handle so much poke and continue to trade aggressively. Cream finally turning this one back around. I want to mention briefly as well, the items in the bottom lane, Guma going for the Berserker's Greaves early into the tier gives him so much power in those early trades like we saw just moments ago. And the Ezreal lead is just starting to fade away. In fact, behind now in CS as well.
Yeah, and I feel like particularly when you have, you know, a 2-carry composition with like a Corki Ezreal, when you go for that initial engage, just having the wind wall is so high value. Like, that's why we've kind of seen Braum being pretty strong in the current meta, but even more so than that, the wind wall just being such an immovable way to block all those projectiles. And it means while these ults are firing off from T1, there's just going to be a portion of the fight where Cream and Jaculov just can't do anything.
Yeah, Tien as well. I mean, that snare is pretty important for the Ivern to augment these team fights. The fact that your teammates can then follow up on a lot of that potential engage gives 369 a way to get into a backline and gives Faker a way to deny that from top esports. So you can see some of the value here for the Yasuo, not to mention the fact that Faker will be a devil in a side lane. Don't need to tell anyone who plays League of Legends that Yasuo does like side lanes. Really does enjoy sitting there.
And Zeus is already so far ahead, and it's all, you know, part of that assist kill he got earlier, part of the first strike, part of the massive CS lead. Already 1,000 gold up in the matchup.
Yeah.
And we saw before when he had that lane swap situation, fell behind, still was super impactful in the Rumble. Now he's in a scenario where he's very fed already, looking real good for him.
Well, there's an equalizer. That's going to kill a wave as well as get a flash out of 369. Meanwhile here, another attack on the bottom side as both junglers making their way in. Control Ward goes through T1, get the information that it's an even matchup, and they are going to back away.
Looks like this could be a Dragon opportunity here for T1, ending up pushing back the Leona. They have full prio in mid, and breaking through this choke point with Keria having level 6 is just off the cards. 369, flashless topside. T1 winning everywhere again, and it's just going to be the Dragon going over uncontested. There's nothing this Ivern can do with level 6. It's not a spike he can use to really actually impact a fight like this. Not quite like a Zyra ultimate, not quite like something like an Emperor's Divide you could see coming over. He's there, but he just has to watch.
And I'm so sad that top esports felt like they needed this extra frontline in the Cassandra. You can understand why, but I just really would have loved to see 369's Kennen in this series. And we might get an opportunity if they can claw their way back. But Kennen could have worked kind of nicely, I guess, with something like the Ivern, but they do run out of so much frontline if that does happen.
I think T1 did ban it in second rotation. I think
yes, they did too.
They did deny it there, and obviously felt kind of locked into securing the Ezreal Leona, but really hasn't paid off yet. But I think the big thing for me, obviously top esports in a deficit now, but both the mid and AD carry have that Triforce Manamune spike together. And even if you're at a deficit, playing around that spike might be a good avenue to get back into the game. So top esports might be weathering the storm now, but that's definitely an angle they can look to capitalize on.
Battle Dance Grand Entrance, not quite going to work out here. Is Tien going to get a flash out of Zeus in trade for his own. Mako was up here as well, though, as a big investment as far as bodies towards the top side. And T1 already on these grubs. Should be one of them out of this second 3 to go over to owner. At least they might be able to stick around. And 6 grubs when they have so much power in side lanes with this Rumble Yasuo. It's going to mean that these turrets could be really in trouble. There's the 5th and the 6th, not looking like it's going to be contested anytime soon. And from an early game, there was just T1 finding, like, this was at what, 5-6 minutes into the game. That set them up for all of this cascading control around these neutral objectives.
And it's, you know, it's somewhat of a draft problem here for top esports or how they played it out, because if it, with a different jungler with that bottom side prio you had, I think that the Ivern could have, or anything that wasn't an Ivern could have actually maybe gotten something done there if played correctly. But the Ivern, 2 missteps early. Tien finding himself falling far behind. This Rumble is so far ahead as Faker.
Yep, gonna go aggressive onto Cream here. Puts down the wind wall, a very small one. As top esports, almost right there for the answer. Faker is going to be able to go in before the rest of them do turn up. As now Owner's moving in. There's the Glacial Prison. Doesn't get any knockups with the Arctic Assault, and so Mako is going to be okay for the moment. There is, of course, the brush that was set up by Tien already there. Faker still looking for a little bit more here as the Steel Tempest is going to run through the minions. Jaculov and Gumayusi still trading blows as Keria moving back down towards this bottom side once again. Mako and Tien in the area, though. He knows that. He is going to back away. So a little bit of a stalemate here, and those first early kills were definitely very impactful here for T1. But I think stemming of the bleeding has started here for Top Esports. We'll see whether that can continue to get them to those spikes that you mentioned, Wolf.
But I still think it's really big burning things like Cream's flash. Felt like he was a little bit on edge there, you know, Mako in position to block it, but ended up just flashing, wanting to stay safe. The thing is, burning that really is so important. I feel like for a composition like T1's, even if there's not much action happening, as long as you're burning people's summoners and getting those down, means when a fight does arise and we have that dragon in the mid 45, those combos are so much more threatening, and both Tian and Cream are going to be targets.
Zeus' lead, we talked about earlier, he skipped boots because he went for magical footwear, so he just gets straight into the Leandri, so that's a big spike for him wave clear-wise. Also helped him clear those grubs so there was no contest from Top Esports because he could just crush that so fast. The winning mid lane as well here with Guma coming over, grabbing 2 plates here. And it just feels like there's no jungler here for Top Esports. Tian is so far behind into this composition. He is so fragile with no map control. He can't even take his own blue buff here. And it feels like a 5v4 in this one after those 2 big errors.
Yeah, and it's so hard as this squishy Ivan, because if you step up, you get taken out, but you can't even really, you know, if you're starting to set up the camps, you have to be so defensive, you know, even going up as far as like your Grom might just end up wasting your time, wasting your resources, and it gets picked away, so really, it has not been a good game for a player who has had, honestly, a really strong tournament.
Yeah, this has been the most consistent Tien's looked in a really long time to me, especially internationally. And his performance in the LPL has also been fantastic. Unfortunate that we do have this game number 4 now. See whether he can turn it around mid-game, though. He is behind a lot of farm. But we know the value an Ivern can have as we get later and later, as Ona's moving on up. 369.
Oh no.
Is going to be pushing forward. And this is looking a little bit dicey. Some Alcove Gaming going to come on in. Let's see whether the Cassante can do some Cassante things. And it looks like T1, they were thinking that that might be happening as the Rift Herald will be started by TES with a lot of people moving up that river. Daisy getting aggressive. Teleport to come in though. As you can see, Faker wanting that flank angle. He's on this ward. They're wanting to find that opportunity. The Glacial Prison does go wide. There's the grand entrance, and there is the last breath to land on the Cream. The flash over the wall. The Corki going to be taken out of the fight, but can they win the rest of it? Is going to be the question. The Equalizer avoided relatively well. The slowdown on Mako, but the health bar on 369 is massive. He goes all out. He's dancing around the fight. His Faker against the shield, and the Steel Tempest will take down 369 in the end. The flash forward from Mako, the desperation, but the feathers are there, and so is Jackie Love. He's dashing forward. He's trying to find these low health bars. Guma? There's Guma. He's flashing the triple kill for Jackie. Make that a quadra. And Top Esports are back in the game.
Huge team fight from Jackie Love, just slowly moving forwards on this Ezreal, landing the Mystic shots, picking up the damage. Huge pop off and a quadra kill to bring them back in the game.
And 369, 1,500 gold behind is the man that helps them get it done. Plays this so fantastically as a follow here with the flash from Baker onto Cream, puts him out of the fight. Equalizer is pretty good here, but 369 is ready to turn this fight around. Goes Mako, gets into position to help start healing for Jackie Love. Then you see the 369 re-engage, pulls off Baker, is unstoppable during the knockup from Keria. Takes so much damage that in the interim, Jackie Love has free reign. Mako sacrificing himself here so that the Ezreal can continue to push forward. And T1, no range here, no way to fight back. Guma tries his best. The shields coming through from Tian are just too much. The quadra bringing Top Esports back into the game, and Faker is not happy about it.
And I feel like in that situation, you know, T1 committed on a Cream, you had no flash, took him out, might do so again. No, won't
Just
find
barely.
it. But the thing is, they used all of their ults at the start of the fight to take out the Corki. Didn't have the resources for Jackie Love, and he just thrives there. And now Triforce finish won't be far away from Manami, and those spikes we're talking about approaching. See though if they want to contest this dragon that T1 have started up.
Yep, Hextech already getting taken down here by T1. And Tien showing that value like we were asking him for in that last fight. Able to be that support even after Mako goes down so that Jackie Love can carry the fight. Looked fantastic still. Fair bit of work to do as they are behind 2,000 gold and a couple of dragons to boot. 6 scrubs going to be important, but this is just showing that the team fighting prowess of an Ivern's still going to be a big issue in this game, as now 369 going aggressive onto Zeus. Will get himself out of there.
And you know, with it being an Infernal Soul, obviously T1 have 2 dragons in the bag, but It would be. Wait a second.
Yeah, Ona's not going to be able to find the knock-up.
Yeah.
Able to get himself out of the way.
It would be huge if top esports get it, but also just the cinders, the extra ability haste for Corki and Edge can be so massive.
Yeah, Solar Flare coming on through. That is going to be Cream teleporting on top of an equalizer that was put down for the minion wave. All out comes in. Carrier just quickness to make sure that everyone's charged, but the double Q will connect. 369 likely to go down, but they'll take a 2-for-1 any day of the week in this game state.
He also denies the kill there from Owner, meaning that Carrier is going to pick that one up, so walks out from the Sejuani. Faker will get a turret here in exchange, but it is going to be a turret for turret. First brick going,
okay,
however, to
T
T1.
instead. Sorry, that was a player play. T instead.
Yeah, still a squishy Ivan. You know, nothing's changed there. Still vulnerable if you're caught out, and I think that kind of just reminds you of the risk playing against this T1 composition. The burst potential is there, but here the initial engage doesn't quite connect onto Zeus. 369. I mean, after the hero plays last game, which unfortunately wasn't enough, he's been doing so much work this game to keep top esports hopes alive. Gets that beautiful double knockup, finishes off the kill on a carrier, knows he's dead, refuses to approach Owner. And yeah, as you said, really far behind, but still making sure he's having a big impact.
I mean, 369 is just never out of any game ever.
Never.
That's what I've learned from watching this player since what, 2018 or something like that, when he first started for top esports.
Yeah, even if he rolls a 3 early, there's still the 9 potential later on.
Exactly. This is the thing. Like, he's untiltable.
You read it left to right. Sometimes he starts on a 9, but he always gets there in the end.
Yeah, you just don't know which part of the order you're up to, right? Faker going to get rid of this top outer turret, and they're not out of the woods just yet. As T1 going to utilize this Rift Herald, try and get some work done on this outer turret. Should be able to get a charge out of Shelly. And the turret ripe for the taking, but isn't going to be giving that global gold over to T1 just yet. It's now backing away. The rest of TES just moving towards this top side as a unit, understanding that teamfight strength really is what this composition is good for, especially after what they just learned in that last one around the Herald.
T1 need to continue to group like this and essentially 4-1 with Zeus, because without map control, this composition will fall apart very quickly, as Carrier is making a big risk here. Will get out with his life.
Well, really, it's a pretty fun way to get towards a Demolish proc as he sidesteps the True Shot Barrage. Gumayushi in a little bit of trouble as these big ones are starting to hurt from Cream. And you were talking about those 2-item spikes. They are here right now as the Dragon still a minute and a half away. Top esports going to be very dangerous around that fight.
And now Jacula can play up aggressively in mid, start to harass with the poke, and T1 want to find an engage to stop it from happening.
Yep, Solar Flare is going to come on through here as Daisy's going to get knocked up. Faker goes in with the ulti on to Mako, who's taken out by the Sejuani of all people. Zeus off to the side with that equalizer. Doesn't do a massive amount. They've got their one pick, but they have to sacrifice a bunch of their health bars in order to get it.
The big thing as well, a lot of ults used and giving TS the confidence, even though support down, looking to continue to be aggressive. You saw Jackal of Arcane shift in towards the end of that play. He's still looking for angles.
Yeah, gonna have to flash out of the way of that one as Gumayushi is so incredibly low. Has to Feather Storm, True Shot Barrage, just barely misses. And that is even Blade Caller value there from Gumayushi, but he has to go back home. He's on about 100 health.
And you mentioned the ultimates used there. Zeus committing his just to make sure they end up killing Mako, but if he had it, I think it would have been a bigger deterrent there for top esports. Mako dies anyways without really much value there for Zeus on the equalizer. Luckily for Guma, he gets away, doesn't have to use either of his summoner spells, so moving into this first Infernal Dragon here, he's going to have both of those up. Faker sitting on 2 items, especially that second one going to be so useful. He's super tanky in this. He wants to just hold top esports players in the air as long as possible. Even if it's just one, get that pick, and this fight is definitely winnable. But getting on top of Jackie Love, that's something this composition cannot necessarily consistently do. This Ezreal was behind early, but now with those 4 kills coming through, he is a menace, and he's ready to carry these fights if the initial engage doesn't work out.
I will say, though, his flash being down, definitely a big positive factor for them. So I think this fight is huge. One of the mid-game spikes for top esports, and they need to deny this next Dragon from T1.
Mako going to press that W, keep himself healthy, and you can see TN just raining shields down on his team. Every single time anyone's moving forward, he has an extra one. And T1 wanting to get control of mid before they do anything else. Cream pretty dangerous with this burst damage. We mentioned the item spikes that did come in. Zeus on a flank angle is looking pretty scary as well. If they can get behind the tree line, so to speak, that's Tien's going to put up. This could be big, and there it is! Tien already taking so much damage. The redemption comes down. but it doesn't let Jackie Love. He dies in the blink of an eye. They traded for the Rumble, though. 369 still trying to get out of there as Gumayushi trying to chase through, and Faker is able to clear up the rest of them. They didn't even need the Zaya in the fight, as it turns out, as Cream is going to die. Gumayushi comes in, some casual auto attacks, and who cares about Dragon when you can kill a purple worm?
And what a beautiful approach to the team fight. You saw T1 working independently, corralling them in. The approach here was so strong. Zeus on the flank here. There was nowhere to go. Cream dashes away. We see Jackie Love arcane shift right into Zeus with Carrier there for the follow-up. The engage is flawless for T1.
When your Rumble is this far ahead, forget CC setup for the Ezreal. Just assassinate him. And that's exactly what they did. Drop the equalizer, press the flame spitter, down goes the Ezreal. You've got an AD carry, you don't. And the Yasuo is just so tanky with this gauntlet in his inventory. There's just no winning the fight from there. Tian also taking a huge brunt of the front of that damage, so isn't going to be able to support or shield anyone.
Oh, recalls so fast.
Yeah, teleport is going to come on through, and 369 will watch as Faker goes home.
See you later.
Bit of a brutal one there, and yeah, as you were talking about the... Oh, another TP coming in here from Fit. He's just back again.
Better type vibes as the equalizer does go down, and Jackie Love, he wants arcane shift over. He needs to, but he's still dead. Faker is going to put his sword into him, and T1, they're still pushing forward. They've got a Baron now as well. There's not a whole lot of minions. They've got some Void Mites hanging around, and yeah, backdoor bonus is not going to be removed by those guys. And T1 need to corral this minion wave, but once they get it here, this 7,000 gold lead is going to be further pushed. It's only 1,600 on the Baron play so far. As okay, that's an aggressive move as Carrier once again taking matters into his own hands. Doesn't even go down as they've taken one for now. This might be an opportunity though. They're all out, but Ona, he is out. He's just going to walk away from it. The frontliners just kind of limping after that, but that's all they need to do. As T1's push is at least going to be stopped. Featherstorm, and Gumayushi just throws the feathers at him and he dies.
And at this point, T1 are just outplaying Top Esports. Every time a fight kicks off, a skirmish opens up, Top Esports are trying to find an angle in, and T1 are just playing better.
And, you know, when the only person who can really carry for Top Esports, the one person who's fed, the one person with 4 kills is Jackie Love. See Jackie Love, kill Jackie Love is the objective. They assassinate him on the previous play on the Dragon. They find him a second time there in the river. And then with this amount of control with Baron, these plays from Carrier become so much easier to set up. Even with the turret here, you just have so much control. Worst case scenario, you back out and take the turret. You can see a lot of damage layered through here, but T1 can get out. Look at this. Guma finding the opportunity. The root comes through, and he assassinates him with the ultimate. T1 with Soul Point in their hands now as well. A 9,000 gold lead. They're looking to close this tournament out.
Yeah, Ona waiting off to the side. TES do get information about the fact that the Sejuani's here, but it's still not going to be one of these counter sieges that's going to look all that easy. As Daisy comes up, but she is likely to go down again. And I just have to say hats off to Carrier. His orchestration of the last 2 fights in a row have been extraordinarily good. Bit of a trading places there with Ona as Daisy's being very frustrating, but this turret is not long for the world. And T1, they have that sieging tactic of put down a whole bunch of fire on the floor, and you can see Top Esports respect it.
And, you know, Carry is a player who people sometimes look at as being more of a carry. You know, you're playing things like the Ashe, obviously was big for him, Kalista support.
Caitlyn.
I feel like so far this season, he's been a lot more about those traditional supports. And this tournament in particular, this series, he's been just piling them so expertly. The Rakan and the Renata in particular, he's just been taking over games, but without being someone who's playing like, you know, the Ashe, the attack damage carry in the support role.
And there's also the fact that it only empowers Faker to be even stronger with this ultimate as well, as he gets the knock up onto 369 there. Carrier gets himself out, getting the information here, but Top Esports immediately remove those wards. All 5 members grouped up, they're looking for the GOAT. Faker not going to give his back to 369. There was a solar flare, lands onto 2, and there is the Q. It's a follow-up. Going to be enough. Carrier says absolutely, and then gets himself out of there. Faker could be in trouble though, and Top Esports stand their ground because Gumayushi, he just wasn't there for that one. It is only 1 kill though for now, and they do send Cream home. So a 4v4 here in this mid lane as the action ends.
They're looking for more though. They want to take out this turret. Bounty's up, only 2 minions here. Teleport to keep it alive as they really want this turret gold.
Yeah, they should be able to get it as well. Cream keeping those minions up, and with the 5-man, they will be able to get there. 45 seconds though, such an awkward amount of time before this Drake is up.
They need to get some resets in quickly, but they're not going to be back on the map soon enough, so T1 will have control of the vision in the area. Taking out the mid tower is huge, but that Infernal Soul in a second will be big. You can see 369 trying to get the angle of Fake, he doesn't quite find it. The ult from Mako is huge, but unfortunately Jacqueline fired his 2-shot barrage up to the side. The re-engage from Kerry is massive, but again, Boomer wasn't there, the damage just missing a little bit, and as a result T1 don't clean sweep, but they are still 8,000 gold ahead, 15 seconds until they can secure Dragon Soul, and Top Esports need to stop that from happening.
Teleport from Zeus here as well. The TES trying to play around these brushes, trying to force their way into Prio. It's just so difficult here to break through T1. Zeus' ult back up and available. Same for Faker. All it takes is one big knock-up. With this amount of Prio, this amount of vision control, you got to leapfrog those brushes forward as Top Esports. Give Jackulov a position to carry. Carry will be spotted on this flank, but it may be too late.
Yeah, Gumiyoshi out of vision. Carrier is going to walk over that controller as this Dragon is going down low. The ulti's going to go wide there from Ona, though, as you can see. 369 looking to keep Carrier out. There's the Infernal Soul, though, and the Equalizer is phenomenal. The grand entrance from Carrier once again as Faker is going to flash on top of TM. The all-out comes through from 369, but he's just dead because now there's a Xayah in the fight. It's a clean ace, and T1 are looking to take their last Nexus of EWC.
The team fighting is excellent, the target selection is supreme. T1 have ramped up over the tournament and are looking to end this game.
Such a great flank from Carrier spotted, but this team is in position to follow up. No one can punish him, and the Rakan with a grin on his face is gonna get it done.
The Nexus will fall, and T1 will be your first Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends winners. High fives around for the team, and there is the huge grin that Carrier deserves.
Absolute dominant performance from Carrier in this international. Coma goes directly to him. He's jumping up and down. He knows he's earned this win for T1. There were a lot of doubters coming into this finals, us included. Everyone was leaning Top Esports. Draft adaptation was fantastic. T1 bringing out the Yasuo in the final game, and they're going to get to lift that trophy.
An incredible performance from the world champions, and I think a lot of people were doubting whether they were going to do it. Mako, of course, has sat across from Faker especially so many times throughout both of their careers. And T1, they will be victorious this time around with some amazing drafts, as now the key coming out, and they will be able to make this trophy complete.
Out of 8 keys, the only one that will remain uncrushed for League of Legends. They've managed to stand tall, playing the maximum amount of games before the finals. They finish this one in 4.
And Faker is going to move up, complete the trophy, and they will be the winners of the Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends, and there it is.
First question I have is going to be for Carrier. You just won on stage today, but the pressure started early after Genji's loss. What were you and the team feeling being once again the last Korean team in the tournament?
일단은 캐리어 선수께 먼저 질문 드리겠습니다. 일단 승리 먼저 축하드리고요. 첫 번째 질문으로는 일단은 첫날 이제 둘째 날 젠지의 패배 이후로 결국에는 다시 한번 이제 최후의 한국 팀이 되셨는데 이 최후의 한국 팀으로서 좀 부담이 되지 않으셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 T1이 원래부터 최강 팀이었기 때문에 이제 T1에 온 이상 뭐 즐길 수밖에 없는 생각해서 즐기려고 일단 T1에 왔고 T1은 항상 최강의 팀이라고 생각하고 앞으로도 그럴 거라 생각합니다.
Well, obviously we were the best, so we are not afraid, and we were trying to enjoy it here. So all we did was enjoy, and we're still the best here.
And my next question is going to be for Faker himself. And I think the question on everybody's mind right now is why? And how, after so many years, are you still at the top of the League of Legends world?
이제 다음 질문은 이제 페이커 선수에게 드릴 텐데 이렇게 오랜 시간이 지났음에도 불구하고 계속해서 이렇게 정상의 자리에 유지하실 수 있는 그런 비결이 있으신지 그 이유가 너무나도 궁금하네요.
네, 네, 뭐 네, 저 항상 이제 좀 발전하려고 하고 계속 열심히 노력해서 오랫동안 있을 수 있었던 것 같고 또 이제 좋은 팀원들도 만나고 또 팬분들도 항상 열심히 응원해 주시기 때문에 계속해서 잘할 수 있는 것 같습니다.
I think it's because I'm trying to improve all the time. I'm trying to be better. And of course, I get good teammates over here and also the fans. So I think that's all the complicated.
And now there's only one more thing to do for everybody here at T1. We have a special honor for all of you and a special pen as well. Can you please, one by one, take the pen and sign this camera right here?
자, 여기 스페셜 펜이 있는데 이 스페셜 마커에 선수분들께 한 번씩 사인을 부탁드리겠습니다.
And everybody at the arena, please put your hands together. One more time for your Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends winners!
And you can just hear the crowd. How much it means to them, how much it means to these players to become the winners of the first ever Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends competition. Valdez, as you were saying earlier, you rarely get to see them be this emotive because they win everything, but this is the first time where they're joining in the chants.
It's really awesome to see. I feel like the audience here in Riyadh has been just incredibly energetic, and to see the T1 members up there on stage just reacting in that way was really, really cool for me. I've seen them win so many different tournaments across many, many years, but to see like Faker cheering alongside and have a big